happy to hear that because nowadays people, young players, they think that Mozart is easy, but it's actually the hardest thing for people today. And there are a couple of reasons why this difficulty is there. First of all, we have to think of the life pace, the speed of life pace. Today, we have plane and rocket. But even just thinking about saying from Toronto to Boston, it takes about 1 hour to fly. But in Mozart's time, I don't know, it's probably a month or something, with a horse and with the road. So in many sense, this life pace is much slower back then. And our tendency is to rush, And then it goes crazy. It's not your fault, it's not my fault. It's really, this world is created this way right now. Everything bigger, faster. But the thing is, we kind of lose the most simple life, world. Like, I still write paper mail today to my close friends. I write things and with a post, with a stamp, everything, because I not only enjoy writing and also let my friends see my work, but also I enjoy the way of distance, travel, because that gives you more expectance. And that actually, somehow I feel is what's missing today. That we really rely on the emails and everything. Yeah, great, I play on my iPhone all the time. But the thing is, that part of our life, the slowness is missing in our life. So that's why I'm actually pointing it out why Mozart is so hard. The other thing you said about the cleanness is that, he's a genius. Everybody knows. Have you looked at his manuscript by any chance? Fascinating. I had the pleasure of looking at it in honestly speaking, I really don't know how on earth human beings are able to do that. Absolutely no scratch. He just composed like this. No scratch. Not like Beethoven. Beethoven was like scratch and delete and write it over again on one bar. Mozart, just like that. Absolutely. And more amazing thing is about his concertos. He writes 5 concertos in 6 months, 7 months. And he read it down because he wanted to look at the music and play on tour. So he is giving concert tour around Europe, and then he's writing these pieces on his own. So it's, and he, by the way, he was 17 years old. God forbid, man, I'm 27. So yeah, so that's really amazing thing about it. So imperfect human being we are, and playing perfect music. That's why this is so difficult. So let's work on a couple places in order to get the right style. So I think what we can develop a little more is humor in his music. Because he is, you know what kind of person he is, according to all the books. He's like a joker. Ha! Like that. Okay. So we wanted to feel that, but at the same time, we also wanted to feel this lyrical singing and opera quality. So it's a mixture of many things. Okay, shall we do from the beginning? Just misunderstanding that people say when you play Mozart, you have to play very soft or very careful, very elegant. But have you listened to his operas, like Magic School, Don Giovanni, sorry? Yeah. Those singers, they actually sing loud because, and these are operatic. Okay, if you play, it's like you're singing like that. So we can't really pass that message to the audience. So even in Mozart, we want the purity. We don't want that sound, but actually we want an open. very serious girl. That's very good, you know. But Mozart is not. You know, I know you play very confused, very good, but have fun with it. Okay. So imagine that all this harmony means something. It sends a message to you, right? Sorry. By the way, don't rush. If you want. That's a decoration of the previous phrase, rather. So not military. A little more outgoing. Everything is okay. Especially, imagine the ballet dancer. And you know the it's the same, right? You have to really imagine that you're the virtuosic singer climbing up. Okay, I don't care if you miss a note, if you play out of tune, as long as you have the character, I'll be happy. Okay? Can you do some? I don't like going to competition, even though I won a number of them. I I don't like to judge competition because I really feel like in my past experience, I saw two very good players. They play differently, but I just have to give them a first prize and a second prize. And that's the hardest decision in life I can even think of. They're just different. So, be brave. There's no right or wrong. There's just you or me. There's only you like it or you hate it. Okay? So play the way you like it. Okay? Same place.
curiosity, when you first start out a new piece, do you think about where it's come from? Like, did you learn everything about the composer first before you attack the piece?
Well, I have to say, when I was younger, I don't do that enough. I didn't do that enough. But I think it is important. Every composer has its own background. But, you know, he writes everything on the paper. And we have to understand the composer first and sort of stand in their shoes in order to interpret it their way. Because I always see the composer as bigger than myself, you know, and I'm trying to interpret it what he thinks is possible. And then everybody plays differently. That's really an interpretation question. And I think that we don't have to even have to try. Then we just sound different. So I think you're absolutely right. It's so important to learn the composer's background. Otherwise, we might end up just playing Mozart just like Brahms or Beethoven just like Schubert. Please.
How long have you been playing the violin?
Yeah, thinking. I started when I was 5, so 22. Is math correct? Yeah, 22 years.
Do you think there are some pieces that may be too, even though, you know, notes-wise it could be easy, but could be too much for, say, a young kid to play? Like, for example, the Frank Violin Sonata, or the Elgar Violin Sonata as well.
These two pieces are absolute masterpieces. I agree that younger musicians, violinists, they have the facility of doing the technical passages in these challenging pieces. But the thing, the beauty of these pieces is really the collaboration between the piano and the violin. In fact, the piano actually plays a much more important role than the violin. So it's a really matter of chamber music experience. So if this violinist, he has a lot of chamber music experience with piano trio, string quartets, he knows how to meld with the sound, how to interact with the partners, then I think he's ready for the piece. Otherwise, I really think he should start with something like Beethoven #1, Schubert Sonatina, or the Dvorak Sonatina, things like this to start with, because you know you really need something relatively on the simple side to learn how to work with the pianist or all musicians.
Thank you.
Yeah. Please.
In your whole career, what is your favorite piece?
Sorry, I
In your whole career, what's your favorite piece?
Beethoven Violin Concerto. You know, if I know that I'm going to die tomorrow, I will play that concerto an hour before. You know, this is one of the keys. I'm sure many people played it and always. I don't ever recall anybody says, you know, Beethoven is easy, because this is the hardest concerto. But when you think about it, it's unimaginable. In the first movement, there's no double stops. I mean, it's just amazing how these people think about this piece, and it's only arpeggios